Welcome back. You're still watching the Afia Morning Show this bright Thursday morning. Of course, it's the 25th, the day of September 2025. I hope that's our lucky number 25. I'm Natalie Uku once again, and Oji, always leading the charge on Thursday morning. How are you doing, Oji?
I'm great. 2025.
Yeah.
Awesome number.
Are we 25 years old though?
25 years old.
How was your evening?
It was great. At least I slept, I don't know. I just had this rest.
Yeah.
It has zailed me a couple of days, but last night was very restful.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the reason I'm hyper and upbeat.
And as you should.
Yeah,
as you should.
A day before Friday too. You know what that means too.
Oh my! I know what it means for it to be a day before Friday. Believe me, I know what it means. And there's something called intentional rest. When you say, "I'm going to go home today and I'm going to rest." That's what is called intentional rest. And then when it works out for you, you wake up refreshed. Half of our problems are driven by lack of sleep.
Yes.
You don't sleep, you wake up, you lack clarity, you are irritable, you are
foggy minds, brains.
Yes, you can't get anything done, you can't get out of bed, you get out of bed, you're arguing.
I'm irritated. Very irritated by everything, almost everything.
Exactly. And trust me, there are many things in a day to irritate you in Nigeria. So if you don't sleep well, you might end up you might end up on should I say it?
Oh yeah.
Ibom Enugu All right, away from that, let's look at headlines making the news. If we have 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I don't know if any of that will make the news, but I doubt. I think aviation,
they've put everybody in check.
They put everybody in check, so that may not be happening. I think Nigerians have learned from all of those incidents. Let's begin our review this morning with Daily Trust. Federal government goes after certificate forgers. A reform or risk irrelevance. Tinubu warns at UNGA. Family of 6 found unconscious, 1 dead in Benue. Oshun to federal government. Don't release local government funds to sacked APC chairman. CBN Naira abuse will raise printing cost if Kano Maradi rail projects to reach Katsina December. Federal government. It's according to the federal government. Flood destroys houses, farms in Kogi, disrupts activities in Lagos. Policeman killed as gunmen abduct guards in Kwara. On the Punch, Nnpcl Limited secures 318 billion naira to fund new oil exploration. PAC subcommittee probes spending for frontier exploration. Budget office warns Nigeria losing 60% of oil income. Olubadan Oyo gears up for historic coronation. Tinubu receives Ogoni report, honors slain leaders. UNGA, Tinubu aligns with calls for Palestinian state. Infrastructure decay caused Abuja-Kaduna train derailment, according to NSIB. Ibas meets Tinubu EFCC chair in Aso Rock. Motorists stranded as flood overruns Lagos communities. Oshun writes federal government challenges local government funds disbursements. I'll protect Yoruba interest if elected president, according to Atiku Abubakar. On the Daily Times, Ogoniland, Tinubu directs Ribadu Nnpcl Limited stakeholders to explore return of oil production. Speaker inaugurates ad hoc committee to investigate Naira for crude oil policy. Make drug test mandatory for driver's license applicants, according to NDLEA. Of course, NLNG 2025 entries for science prize are poor quality, according to the advisory board. Naiti demands urgent reforms to unlock Nigeria's 400 billion naira mining sector. Straight to Nigerian Tribune, federal government moves to restart oil exploration in Ogoni land. Tinubu directs Ribadu on Niger Delta peace development, confers national honors on murdered Ogoni 31 years after. 2 killed, 6 abducted in Kwara bandit attacks. Nigerian industrialist Olugun Oscar Ibru dies at 67. 24 hours to coronation. Prominent Nigerians converge on Ibadan. In Ibadan at lecture in honor of 44th Olubadan. Oshun government tells finance minister not to release local government funds to APC members' accounts. And straight from Nigerian Tribune to The Guardian, political parties on SPVs roll overrides multiple dormant parties as INEC considers 14 more. NSIB links Abuja-Kaduna train derailment to poor maintenance. Lagos State government deploys survey to manage HIV spread and treatment. Federal government renews commitments to ending torture, upholding human rights. And lastly here, 2027, Atiku courts Southwest votes, pledges to unite Nigeria.
Okay, Daily Independent. Under 80, Tinubu to UN world leaders. Reform or risks irrelevant. Says demand for UN Permanent Security Council sits timely. Blast UN over inaction in Middle East conflicts. Points Nigeria's mineral wealth reforms as blueprint for Africa. Mini-grids will boost investments in electricity markets, says experts. 31 years after Tinubu honors Ogoni 4 with CON. Directs Ribadu on Niger Delta peace development. FG move to restart oil production in Ogoni land. Return of Natasha means we can triumph over tyranny. Tyranny, says Atiku. Restructuring is key to sustainable development, says Akume. Nnpcl says crude loses dropped. I beg your pardon. Nnpcl says crude losses dropped 90% in 4 years. Refutes 8.4 trillion naira oil theft claim. News Central honored with AEMA Black Prize in New York. Tinubu summons former Rivers Solar Administrator Ibas. Next, INEC share to determine credibility of 2027 elections. Tinubu advised on qualities for head of electoral empire. Lastly, on Daily Independent, police disburse 24.2 billion naira to 9,735 families of fallen officers. Salient Times. 2027, why Yoruba should support my ambition, attributed to Atiku, says Hausa Fulani won't dominate his administration. Obi challenges DBN over 1 trillion naira MSME loans, demands full list of beneficiaries. NSIB blames poor maintenance, faulty track switch for Abuja-Kaduna train derailment. Hosting Commonwealth Games is a dream that must be realized, says Tinubu. Court threatens arrest warrant for Nnadiume over 400 million naira fraud trial. EFCC chairman spotted at Aso Rock as Tinubu invites ex-Rivers administrator. All hands on deck. FG unveils theme for Nigeria's 65th anniversary. Tinubu declares strong support for constitution review. Moving over to Platform Times, police drag retired AIG CP's orders to court over alleged age falsification. Police say records altered to extend service years. Defendants insist records were clerical errors. IGP vows accountability beyond retirement. FG British Council partner to boost Nigeria's creative economy, says Minister. NDLEA moves to make drug tests mandatory for driver's license applicants. Police uncover 4.8 billion naira theft at Kainji power plant, arrest 14 suspects. AGF takes over cyber stalking case against Abado monarch Oba Shylon. Police immigration reject 4 million naira bribe from Bayelsa estate agents, murder suspect. Scandal rocks Ogun Tescom as viral allegations claim principals posted without duty schools. UNICEF raises alarm as Nigeria ranks 3rd globally in female genital mutilation. Adeyanju drags ex-Rivers Solar Administrator Ibas before ICPC over 283.3 billion naira fraud fund. I beg your pardon. Obasanjo congratulates Ladoja as 44th Olubadan, urges him to separate politics from tradition. UPM convener Ayinla Egba tackles Abiodun over alleged substandard roads, hypocrisy on technical standards. And moving over to Daily Global. 2027, Atiku woos Southwest pledges to protect Yoruba interest. Malawi President Chakwera concedes election defeats. Toga urges US to work with anchor state, highlights Nigeria's strategic role. Ex-legislative Aid jailed 8 years for 120.5 million naira employment scam in Ilorin. Diaspora Investment Summit and Governor Bebelu's Gospel of the New Edo. Primate Ayodele, the only prophet that foretold defeat of Malawi's incumbent president since 2023. And moving over to the last paper right here, The Nation. Nigeria offers solution to debt crisis in developing economies. Tinubu seeks reordering of world order in UNGA 2025 statement. Olubadan Oba Ladoja will modernize city, all set for coronation. Wike, states now viable to deliver more projects. And this one reads, no entry qualifies for 2025 NLNG Award. Advisory Board declares. And the last one right there.
All right, thank you, Oji, for those headlines. We'll go on a quick break now. Of course, we'll have a special guest join us in just moments. The Morning Show returns split seconds. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back to the Afia Morning Show. Thank you for staying with us. Of course, this is the point where we review headlines on our national dailies this morning. I'm still here, of course, with Oji and Barrister Awforkansi, a legal practitioner. Specifically, he is a constitutional lawyer, property consultant, and farmer. He joins us on set this morning. Barrister Awforkansi, long time no see. Great to have you.
Natalie, a long time no talk.
The guest.
Long time no.
No hole.
The guest. It's so good to have the guest back
The
on.
guest is here now.
The guest is here.
Yes.
That's your code name, isn't
Thank
it?
you very much.
Have you been?
Why do you say how have
I'm
you
doing
been like
fine.
that? I mean, that's not how you ask how anybody has been. Why do you say have you been? Why do you say it like that?
How am I meant to say it there?
How you been? How you been? Why do you say it like that?
Oji is a Bintu. You know, the people call Bintu in those days.
Eh.
Those who have been to the United States.
Yes.
So when they come, they give us the American slides.
Because outside the morning show, you just see how far. How you been?
Sorry, Barrister Awforkansi, how far?
Well, Sonia.
Okay, let's take a look at headlines this morning. We'll begin with Daily Trust. Federal government, of course, goes after certificate forgers. Barrister Awforkansi, I would love to know your take on this headline. The federal government has set an October 6th deadline for enforcement of this new bill order. So all of this certificate forging is supposed to come to an end. No more racketeering based on the directive October 6th. So I'm wondering now, what are the racketeers supposed to do before October 6th? Come out and declare that I'm actually not a holder of this certificate. I actually am not a professor, perhaps.
Come from another perspective too. I would not meant to start from the top.
Yes.
Let's go.
Well, no, I've got to what she asked. So the issue is this, a lot of rhetorics, very few action. That's why I see this very federal government effort. Because if you must have to start on certificate racketeering, you have to do an internal cleansing of yourself. How many of our people in that political office, how many of them have valid certificates? Many of them, the election contest at the tribunal has been on forged certificates. Either you forge your NYSC or you forge your degree or you forge this. And at the end of the day, because in their usual manner, we always give them a clean bill of health. So what are they going to do? Assuming without considering the fact that they're actually going to move against certificate forgers. And then I've got somebody maybe who is in the Senate or a governor who they know forged a certificate that this university says we never gave this man this certificate. Meanwhile, the court in Nigeria has cleared the person. So how do you reconcile the just opposition between the two? So that's why I say a lot of rhetorics with little action. So, you see, when you want to do this kind of cleanup, you would first of all do an internal cleanup of your own self. You have to start from yourself. If you start from the real ones who are at the helm of affairs, who are managing our resources for us, and you tell them, man, your certificate is forged. Now, those people who are intending to forge will definitely become afraid, because if it can happen to somebody in the Senate, happen to a governor. But then the court need the balls to have the gut to do that, because the problem you have now is that a lot of illegalities going on in Nigeria are being ratified by the courts. And when the courts ratify them, they don't have any other further question. Just imagine somebody saying that the emergency rule in Port Harcourt, even if it is unconstitutional, the courts have not made a pronouncement on it. Of course, it's right. But since you know it may be unconstitutional, why do you even embark on it in the first place? So, you see, Sometimes when this federal government, diverts people's attention, I see them as, attention diversion because they're not going to do anything about it. I stand to be proved wrong.
Well, I don't think you be proved wrong by many. Looking at the details of the story, at the heart of the reform is the Nigeria Education Repository and the Data Bank NERD, a centralized digital platform created to store, manage, preserve, and verify educational records, publications, and credentials from all tiers of the system. So it's based on a record-keeping model.
Okay.
And you ask yourself, how well are records actually stored? How many records?
There's no rocket science in a good record keeping. The issue is the moral fiber to carry it out, and then the avoidance of sacred cows when you are carrying it out. If you now say every certificate obtained in Nigeria, maybe from 1980, let us just go far down after that, from WAEC, store it in a database so that even at the click of a button, you get it out. Having stored, WAEC have their record. NECO, I believe, I don't know about that because it's a national exam, but I know they should also have a record. Now, how many universities do you have in Nigeria? Let universities also have their own database and records. These are institutions that offer certificates. You don't get certificate from a woman selling vegetable in the new market. You get certificate from institutions. If you also want to codify the certificate of private entrepreneurs, you can create a platform for that. But what I'm saying is that even if you want to use data collection system, create a data collection system for it. The question is, if Okeke comes for certified true copy of certificate from that database, you issue him a certified true copy. Musa comes for it, you issue him. Then one Adeboye comes for it, you issue him. And you don't discriminate between the one you issue to Okeke and the one you issue to Musa and the one you issue to Adeboye. Then you are getting it right. But the very moment you issue to Okeke a different certificate, issue to Musa a different certificate, and Adeboye a different certificate, then you have gotten it wrong. So that's why I said these things are rhetorics. Talk, no action. But let us see how it goes.
Okay,
Go ahead, Oji.
So this caught my attention, right? The Punch. And then, okay, sorry, not the Punch, by the way, the Daily Times, by the way.
Yeah.
Ogoni Land, Tinubu directs Ribadu Nnpcl stakeholders to explore return of oil production. And also, right here, Nigerian Tribune, FG moves to restart oil exploration in Ogoni Land. Tinubu directs Ribadu on Niger Delta peace development, confers national honors to unmurdered Ogoni for 31 years after. And whenever you talk about this, you remember Sen Karuwiwa, Ken Saruwiwa, and all that, right? How does this make you feel after 31 years of, we all know what happened in Ogoni Land and how Ken Saruwiwa and the other Ogoni 4 of them were persecuted regarding to the Ogoni Land and the oil exploration and all the revolts in yesteryears, right? How does this make you feel after 31 years?
If you look at this heading very well, it says Tinubu directs Ribadu Nnpcl stakeholder to explore return of oil production. Now, you know how many cubic, how do you quantify them, of gas that is embedded in Ogoni Land? It is in trillions. Now, they want to go back to that place to explore further exploration. Now, to cushion the effect of what they may damage further, they now want to evoke what the atrocity they committed 30 years ago on Ken Saruwiwa. Now, you see, some people from the hinterland of Igbo sometimes see Ken Saruwiwa's a murder by Abacha as a nemesis, But personally, I see it as inhumanity, man's inhumanity to man. Ordinarily, Abacha has no need to kill Ken. Because, our law is very clear that even if you convict somebody on a court martial or on a tribunal, you still have to wait to the highest court of the land because it's life to pronounce or ratify the death sentence. But this one was just a military tribunal condemning the person, and the next thing you see, hang. So, but I'm not surprised. Nigeria always come back after 30 years to plead with what they have done wrong 30 years ago. They did it to
30 years.
Yeah, 30 years. And they did it to Abiola after killing Abiola in 30 years thereafter. They now apologize and then gave Abiola his presidency posthumously and then confirmed him with GCFR. So they don't need to convert Ken with posthumous GCON and might be not to pacify your good people 30 years after killing their son. That was why somebody said, even though El-Rufai said that P2B won the 2020 election, what difference does it make? I said it made a lot of difference because at least P2B has now seen his own lifetime that he won the election, even though it was taken away from him. Unlike Abiola, who won it and they refused to show him until they killed him 30 years thereafter they gave it to him. So they didn't wait for P2B's own to be 30 years basically when he must have died to then confine him to GCFR and then say, oh, we are sorry he won the 2023 election. No, thank God that somebody said he won it in his lifetime. They're going to him is immaterial. So what I'm saying is that this issue of trying to placate the Ogun people by investigating what led to whatever happened to Kensaro. Assuming without considering the fact that they even unveil, which everybody knows, like you said, all of us know what happened. Like everybody knows that Abacha, brutally killed the man. If you now get a report or a panel that says, yes, he was cruelly murdered, well, I wonder the amount of financial, gratification that will assuage the life of a human being. That's what I think but because the only thing the bank can recommend is to recommend compensation, maybe for Ghanaian people, maybe for Kensaro family, and maybe for Nigeria as a whole. But that is by the way. So what I'm saying is that if actually they intend to explore oil further in Ogoni land, that is even overheating the system. What I still say, oil is in every part of Nigeria. It's in the Lake region of Meduguri. There is oil there. There is oil in the confluent towns of Lokoja. And they have explored oil. They have seen them. Why are they interested in finishing the one in Niger Delta first before they go to other parts of Nigeria? Or are we not one country?
Interesting analysis there. We have to go on a quick break now. There is a sound challenge with your microphone, so we'll have to look at that.
Okay.
When the monitor returns, we'll look at Atiku's recent statements wooing the Southwest, saying that he's not going to, if he ascends to presidency, it's not going to lead to Hausa Fulani domination. In fact, of course, the society and family ties in line with that. The monitor returns in seconds. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us and good morning once again. If you're just joining the show right now, we're still joined in the studio by barrister Nnadiume Awforkansi, legal practitioner, reviewing headlines. And the boldest one here, barrister Awforkansi, cuts across dailies as well, Silence Times, speaking about 2027, why Yoruba should support my ambition. According to Atiku, citing family ties, is saying that he was once married to someone from Yoruba land, his first wife, also talking about, other issues relating to the extended family and how he will in no way displease the Yoruba if he ascends to presidency. And of course, also on the other side, saying that the Hausa Fulani would not dominate. What do you think is the weight of this statement? Has he robbed Peter and paid Paul, or has he pleased Peter and displeased Paul?
I saw she did that. Nice.
No, you see, what thing with Atiku Abubakar is that I see him as a man who doesn't know when to leave the stage. You see, the stage is better left when the ovation is loudest. The loudest ovation Atiku had was when he paid with P2P. That was the loudest ovation. And that time he had the majority of the votes. That's why they found that APC did the unthinkable, because the result of the election there was in the public domain, even 2 weeks before the election. And when the results were called, it was the same result.
Yeah.
So let us just leave that. That was when his ovation was loudest. You see, I do believe as a human being that new brooms suit better. As I am now, there are contests I cannot engage myself in again.
So you mean APC sweeps better?
I'm coming. I'm talking of the individual now. I'm not talking of the party.
Parties, yeah.
I'm talking of the individual.
Go ahead.
Yes. Atiku as an individual, ordinarily, by now, should know that he has expired from the digital age of contest, just like Tinubu expired, even before 2023. But Mahmoud imposed him on us. That is also by the way. The other day, somebody was telling me, I was saying in one media that Tinubu knows that he didn't win the 2023. I said, no, it's alleged. I said, it's not allegedly, because those people who conspired with him has come out to say he never won the election. After all, El-Rufai was his man Friday in Chatham House, who was answering his questions, who was, whatever question asked, he said, El-Rufai answered them. Now, the same El-Rufai has come to say, well, we did this thing because we were afraid So now that we thought that the Muslim ticket will help us, we have seen it is a cost. We are so sorry to Nigerians. This is the cost of the election, but those ones are bad. So Atiku, stay flexing muscle for 2027. Well, Natalia, I think if you, the younger ones and the Gen Z generation, allow that to happen, then that means you people are not yet ready. It is going to be a cycle of lamentation. Every year we lament. What is he going to offer Yorubas? I want to know. What exactly is Atiku going to offer the Yorubas? By telling them that he's not going to be a Fulani-dominated administration. So, and that he married from the Yoruba land. So that is in-law, those is in-laws. How many votes do they have? Let us assume that his wife has a single vote. Maybe that's why he got about 4 children for him. That's about 4 votes plus 1, that is 5. And the people multiplied it. There may be in totality of his in-laws and even their village. Let us assume he has built a good project in the village. The village now likes him as an in-law. The village might have about 3,000 votes. A good chunk of votes, so to say. But what difference is going to make in about 250 million people? So what I still say is that Atiku should sheath his sword, rest and watch the scenario. He has tried for Nigeria. After all, he was vice president for 8 years. There's no law that says having been a vice president must be a president. After all, a lot of people in the United States have been vice president, and those people who have been, has been rare. It is just Joe Biden of recent who has been a vice president, who later became a president. So you find out that people who have been vice president hardly become president.
So how you feel about the former BP is clear. I think we understand it now. How do you feel about Jonathan's presidential bid?
Well, Jonathan has not come out to tell us he's contesting. It is still spokespeople. It's still aides.
Yes, it is.
So until I see Jonathan say, I want to contest. Jonathan is not an expired ballon. He is not. But certainly, he might have some little challenges, even though they say court has pronounced in Port Harcourt that his swearing in for a second time was the original president. The first one was an acting president, and so on and so forth. But the Constitution says anybody who has been sworn into this office for a period of 2 times. It didn't say sworn in as a vice president, as a acting president, as what. But let us leave it the bad way. And I do believe so that Jonathan is more advanced, more matured to know that his role today in Africa has been one of respect. And dragging himself into the muddy waters of Nigerian politics again might smell that very respect. And if it smells it, he will lose certainly those international recognitions. But that's how it happens. If he drafts himself and maybe loses the election, he will definitely have a lot of people withdrawing from what they have taken him to be before.
So in your view, if it would smear his reputation to dabble into politics again, he is receiving a lot of advice from all sides, you know, to make him run for that. If he decides not to run, what's left for Jonathan? I mean, even his wife doesn't, according to her previous statement, doesn't want to go back to Aso Rock, right? So it's even closer to him than the Afia TV morning show studio. So if he doesn't vie at the end, what else is left for Jonathan? What can he do with the rest of his time and his reputation?
But between the period Jonathan left office, when he considered election and told congratulated Barr, that's about 12, almost 10 years ago, or thereabouts. We got 8 plus 2 now, He's about 10 years plus. Jonathan has never been idle. Has never been busy. You know he's been busy. If he's not busy with his foundation, he's busy attending one international peace meeting or the other, attending one international election observation or the other. He the one has actually recognized him as the first African, a sitting president, who considered defeat. In Africa, leaders hardly consider defeat. It is only in Africa that somebody who is 85 years or 90 years, like what do you call it? In Cameroon, will tell you to vote for me for the very last time now. So that after this one, don't vote for me again. Now they wonder what is such a vegetable can still do in office, apart from ruling by cabals. So Jonathan did a feat no African leader has ever done before. Apart from people like Kenneth Kaunda and Julius Nyerere. These are old-time African leaders who saw their people first before they saw themselves. But those modern African leaders are not like that. So Jonathan will be busy. I do believe he's been busy, and he keep on being busy. So not going into Nigerian politics will not make him busier. After all, If he goes in there, the much he can take is another 4 years. Is it not that?
Right.
So if that is what people argue for, another person can still give the same 4 years.
Well, the argument here is that they trust him more, to render that 4 years and just go away than Peter will be promising 4 years, which he's eligible for 8 years.
Well, see, Jonathan has not. Nobody will debate have people having trust in Jonathan because at least he considered the defeat when he saw Nigeria was trying to boil because of his ambition. There's nothing wrong with anybody attributing that issue of trust to him. But also, you also have to know that Peter Obi has also built trust. You also build trust by what you say and how you fulfill them. People who make campaign promises and fulfill them need to be trusted. Just the same way you trust somebody who lost the election and consider.
Speaking about campaign promises, let's take a look at this headline here on Daily Independent. UNGA80, Tinubu to UN world leaders reform or risk irrelevance. One of the riders here also reads, blasts United Nations over inaction in Middle East conflicts.
That is Tinubu for you, but who said it there? Is it not Shetima?
Yes, who is representing him?
Why?
But he still speaks, he's representing the president, so he speaks for him.
It doesn't matter.
You wanted him to be there.
Why was he not there?
Another trip, Oji? Another trip, really?
No, but why is he not in the United Nations?
Okay, I don't want
but
to.
If you can, if you can go to.
How do you dabble into something? How do you dabble into
No, leave Oji knows what he's talking about. If Tinubu can go to France and spend 12 days, or go to any of these his friend countries where he goes to do his Shokoriko. If you can go there, why can't you go to United Nations? Or is he afraid? Somebody asked the other day, who is afraid of Showore? I say, is he afraid of Showore? And his revelations. So the only thing is there is that what I still see, a lot of rhetorics in Nigeria. You see, when you see people who match their words with action, it reverberates across them. Have you heard the man called Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso? Fine, he adorns a military uniform. But whenever he speaks, the world shakes. That is the kind of leaders we want in Africa now. Not spent forces like Tinubu, who make rhetoric statements in Abuja that doesn't go beyond the shores of Atlantic Ocean. Who listens to him? You see, Natalia, in law will say, whoever comes to equity must come with clean hands. You see, if you are not clean and they come to equity to assist you, equity, for instance, you want to be a director of this Afia TV. Equity sees you as a director already. Because you are a director in equity, because you want to be a director. If you say, okay, I will buy jam form, I want to read law, equity sees you as a lawyer already. So, but if you must have to come to that equity, who sees anybody's ambition as what he is already, we must come with clean hands. Equity has a lot of paradigms that you read about it. If Tinubu wants the world to take him serious, why is he fighting with his life for the court in the United States not to reveal his records?
And that takes us to another question and brings us to exactly where we started the review from this morning. Federal government goes after certificate forgers. Now, do you think that this could be an attempt to perhaps start witch hunting people ahead of 2027 in the long run?
Remember,
not trying to draw parallel lines.
No, but remember I said that the political clash will start from themselves. And if we must have to clean it up, we clean from the president. Let that institution that will be set up to map up the certificate database. Let them start with the certificate of the president.
Right. All right, Barr, Awforkansi, we're out of time. Thank you so much for joining the newspaper review this morning. Time does fly. Thank you once again.
Thank you for having me, Natalia.
It's so good to have you.
It's been a long time.
Yes, we'll bug you some more. Now we know that you're around, and we'll ring you. Just ring a little.
No, we have done with the conference. I'm slightly free now, even though the course has started.
Slightly, yes. We'll make it first. The morning show returns in seconds, and when we do return, we'll go around the region, catch up with our correspondents. We'll go to Nsukka, of course, come back to Enugu, Metropolis, and then head on to Abia State, where we'll catch up with Deputy Chief Correspondent Emmanuel Wazwe as he brings us up to speed on rural development projects in the state by the federal government to the NDDC, and of course, the Abia State Governor himself. Stay tuned.